Yeah. So it's part 2 of the psychology of creativity. You know, we done broke that down in the previous video. That was the part 1. You know, because these videos, they're too long for me to, you know, react to the whole thing in one sitting and then give you that reaction, because I know you probably, yeah, you might not go through the whole thing, right? I mean, you don't know me, you know what I'm saying? I don't know you. I would like to know you. You know what I'm saying? So our rapport is not strong enough for you to go through a whole hour video, right? So I'm definitely gonna chop that up. So this right here is part 2, right? Breaking down the psychology behind creativity. Let's do it.
Cause this mind is straight chatter, but I can barely say something. Feel like shit don't matter, so beware the fun cutting. It's volumes of demise. I hear the sound buzzing. So when she said she wanna die, and he sees she ain't bluffing, so he held her to the skies. Cries, sour momentum, passive with goodbyes. I'd rather you tell him, but now the truth is I've digressed from all the feelings. So
Alright, part 2 dog, part 2 dog. Part 2 dog of psychology of creativity. And I know even the part 1 was like mad long as fuck, bro. So like if you made it through that one, yo, you deserve this right here. I'm not gonna lie. Damn, like wait. I be yapping a lot today. I don't know, like when I have a whole lot of energy because I'm straight off a nap, right? When I got a whole lot of energy, I be yapping a lot. If you're uncomfortable with that, I'm yet to see a comment that says, yo bro, you yap a lot, bro, you better stop that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I don't like that shit.
I don't like that shit for sure, bro. I don't like that shit.
You know what I'm saying? So if you make it clear, like, yo dog, I don't like that shit, like stop that shit, quit that shit. And you know what I'm saying? We'll cut that off. You know what I mean? But yeah, part 2 with it, psychology of creativity, eternalized. Let's do it.
Psychology of the artist. While the artist's psychology matters,
Yep.
the work of art exists in its own right as an autonomous complex and cannot be dismissed as just.
First point in me as we kick it off, right? That fact, like it reminds me of that whole saying, yo, once you release even your music, this is from an artist, once you release your music, it's not yours anymore. It's you know, it belongs to the public. It belongs to the public. You feel what I'm saying? So, and they'll criticize it, scrutinize it, you know, as they should, because it's theirs now.
Just a personal association. At times, we must even defend the seriousness of the visionary experience against the artist's personal resistance to it. Artists who have fallen out of fashion are often rediscovered when our consciousness has evolved enough to understand them in a new way. Their meaning was always in the work, hidden in symbols, but only a renewal of the spirit of the age allows us to perceive it.
Serious?
Fresh eyes are needed, because the old ones could see only what they were used to seeing. In The Way of the Dream, Jungian analyst Marie-Louise von Franz recounts the case of one of her patients, a painter specialized in highly accurate and realistic portrait paintings, and who strongly rejected what he called modern art, which he saw as destructive and senseless. Night after night, he dreamt that he had to abandon his habitual style and begin painting inner abstract realities. Whereas he had always worked in dark colors, the dreams insisted that he paint in bright ones. At the same time, he had, among others, one very disagreeable physical symptom. He was impotent. But as soon as he began to obey the dreams, his physical symptoms, including his impotence, disappeared. He was cured by completely changing his artistic style.
What are dreams?
He did not have to change his vocation, he only had to change his style. People who wish to start a creative endeavor often encounter an inner critic that insists that they are not good enough or that they will never improve. This voice can be paralyzing.
And these days it's even exacerbated by the fact that there's like online communities that could tell you these things. Oh shit. Bro, you literally don't need your own mental to tell you that you ain't shit no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have like online communities. It's tougher these days. right? It's tougher these days. That's a crazy realization.
leading many to give up before they even start, or to live vicariously through the creations of others. As a result, one may spend years, sometimes a lifetime, haunted by self-doubt.
Yeah.
This inner critic is a manifestation of the shadow, containing one's repressed aspects. Rather than escaping from its criticism, one must listen to it and acknowledge it.
Legit.
What we resist persists. What we embrace transforms. The act of creation is not about making something completely new out of nothing,
What is it about?
but the act of setting free and expressing the potential that already exists within us. By taking what inspires us and shaping it in our own way,
Yeah.
filling it with our personal experiences,
Yeah.
our latent potential is
Making it unique, basically.
brought into actuality,
Yep.
which leads to the formation of our own myth. What is your myth? It is your role on the world stage. Through it, nature expresses herself in you, and as your consciousness grows, it contributes to the evolution of human consciousness, of nature, and of God. Therefore, one should follow the path that nature has.
Yo. Okay, so creating your own myth, right? That contributes to the whole energy and nature of God. But now, let me comment on about, the people that whose myths are just like degenerate, bro. Like, as in, those that end up justifying psychopathic or tendencies, right? Psychopathic tendencies. They become serial deleters, right? Serial killers of society, like within society. Like, what about those kind of people? And like, even me bringing up the example of those kind of people, that's an extreme case. People that just like manipulate humanity and society because of the myths that they created for their own worldview. You know what I'm saying? Is that even the work of God then? Oh, because now, if every human being's, myth, or like their creative and, esoteric reality and shit like that they paint in their own head, if all of that is contributing to like what the entirety of nature is, what God is, are those degenerate, like, psychosis, is that kind of degenerate psychosis part of the art of God too?
Carved. Another obstacle in creative work lies in creating merely to please others,
Yeah.
or to meet aesthetic expectations,
Aesthetic
without the
expectation.
work having any personal meaning. This is pseudo-creativity. It is a game in which the persona or social mask is being mistaken for the true self. Without engaging with one's personal life, there can be no authentic encounter with reality, leading to neurosis. Jung writes, "Neurosis does not produce art. It is uncreative and inimical to life. It is failure and bungling. But the moderns mistake morbidity for creative birth, part of the general lunacy of our time. Those who rely on their creativity to earn a living face a harsh reality. They often have to set aside what is personally meaningful in favor of work that is less fulfilling, but popular and socially approved."
Oh my God, bro! Like, I feel like you just touched on a sensitive subject matter, especially when we getting into 2026 and people releasing their art and things like that. Like, yo, it's always now it's nothing but a monetary kind of incentive that's expected from people who create their art. Like, they create off of, I need to eat off of this, and that's like their starting point of creating things. You know what I'm saying? Yo, according to Young, bro, face a harsh reality out here when we going like that. But like, this has been evident, like even down to how corporates, big giant corporates, are taking advantage of that. You know what I'm saying? Well, not advantage of that, but they contribute in people, living this way. When we're talking about people that release music and the streaming platforms. And you know what I'm saying? Like, people make it about that financial incentive when it doesn't even pay nobody nothing. Bang! Pays like freaking peanuts, bro. But like, yo, need to run these views up, these listens, these plays. I need to run all that up, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? And now the starting point of you creating that music in the first place, creating that art in the first place, is it gonna give me the, you know, maximum capital satisfaction? You know what I'm saying?
At times, they have no choice but to sacrifice their own desires, simply to make a living and survive.
Yep.
Moreover, unpredictable and prolonged uncertainty leads to despair. At times, one feels abandoned by the muses and unable to work. Society adds to the burden, often judging those who do not earn a living in conventional ways as lazy or worthless.
Yeah.
Over time, this pressure leads to isolation.
But it's crazy the fact that, you know, these things were written by Carl Jung, like somebody who was observant of these aspects of life back in the freaking day, bro. Like back in the back of the day. You know, there's back in the day, and there's the back of that day. There's the back of that back in the day. Damn, he saw this shit like back from there. And right now, people, you know what I'm saying, it's more of a reality now than ever, right?
And a decline in mental health work does not come from the artist, but from the unseen forces that inspire it. The task of the creative individual is to awaken and give shape to what is already present in silence. Chinese writer Lu Ji writes, "We poets struggle with non-being to force it to yield being. We knock upon silence for an answering music." The being which the poem is to contain derives from non-being, not from the poet. And the music it is to own comes not from us who make the poem, but from the silence, comes in answer to our knock. The poet labors to struggle with the meaninglessness and silence of the world until he can force it to mean, until he can make the silence answer and the non-being be. Creative people are distinguished by their ability to live with anxiety, even though a high price may be paid in terms of insecurity, sensitivity, and vulnerability.
That's why I can never look down on people that like prefer their silence, bro. Prefer their, you know what I'm saying, their own space, their own environment, dog. You know what I'm saying, like above, you know, and I feel like the constructive, you know, the constructive version of that silence that end up, you know, having you hear what you need to hear to yield to the poetry of nature or what, you know what I'm saying? I don't mean to be fake deep, right? But yo, the silence that Eternalized is breaking down right here, I feel like it's the kind of silence where you can't derive a whole lot of joy out of that. That's why you get like these introverts, you know what I'm saying? Lately, the term introverts, I don't like it no more. I'm not gonna lie, I don't like
that shit for sure, bro.
It has,
I don't like that shit.
It has like this negative notion to it, right? Connotation to it, right? But I'm talking just about people who prefer, you know, time to themselves, being to their own selves, and, you know, having none of these distractions when they got their time, the time to themselves. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't even mean just being in a dark room and there's no music, no lights, and then you're just there like rocking back and forth. You know what I'm saying? Rocking back and forth. I don't know, doing what, you know, whatever. But like it just that silence where it's just you. You know what I'm saying? It's what you get onto. It may be habits, it may be routines that you get onto. It may be just like gymming by yourself, exercising by yourself, you know, I don't know, cleaning up by yourself. You know what I'm saying? It may have activity within it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe zoning out, listening to the content that you want to listen to, you know, and the kind of content that you believe grows you. But that's the point of that exercise right there. It's for that growth. How that ends up inspiring you to be creative. You know what I'm saying? Having the kind of creativity that will have you living the reality that you want. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the importance for, you know, for that silence. You understand what I'm saying? It's not like, yo, no, he's sick in the brain, he doesn't want to socialize, like he's like antisocial. Like, okay, I guess then antisocialism is necessary then, right?
For the gift of creative
to a certain degree.
They do not run away from non-being. but by encountering and wrestling with it, force it to produce being. They pursue meaninglessness until they can force it to mean. The true artist puts something of his own personal life experience onto the page, whether good or bad, something that has moved him and carries meaning. This is authentic creativity. The unconscious does not care as much as what we come up with aesthetically, as our intention behind what we do. What the unconscious appreciates is our attempt to bring its contents into the light of consciousness.
Bro?
Art is not just about attaining unrealistic aesthetic perfection.
About
There is beauty in imperfection. In Japanese culture, wabi-sabi sees imperfection as a form of art, a kind of flawed beauty, recognizing that nothing is perfect. This is wholeness, an acceptance of the full spectrum of the human condition.
Okay, cool.
Creative people are archetypal wanderers, navigating through the unconscious to bring its content into consciousness. At times they may follow this process without difficulty, but eventually they encounter creative blocks, periods when new ideas or work seems impossible. These blocks can arise from overthinking, perfectionism, self-doubt, fear of failure, burnout, or pressure from deadlines and expectations. Just as land must lie fallow to become fertile again, so too must we pass through a period of rest and barrenness. We are so accustomed to doing that we have forgotten the art of simply being.
Shit. Yeah, I feel like you. Why you have to call me out like that for? You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna lie, bro. It's hard not to do nothing. It's hard not to do nothing, especially when you don't got nothing. I feel like you doing something is like, you know, you make your survival make sense. It's like it's for the sake of your survival and da. Okay, this is for me, right? Sake of like me surviving, especially when you don't got nothing, bro. It makes sense when you got a whole bunch of leverage to what you've built, right? To a point where it's like, okay, we can spend another couple years just like brainstorming, figuring some shit out, or not even figuring some shit out, but just like being in a state of just like rest from a previous phase of having went crazy, toiling, right? Working, putting that work in, capital maxing, right? Capital maxing, work maxing. You know what I'm saying? So it only makes sense when you got a whole bunch of I don't even want to make it about material, but like a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of detail within your life where you can be like, yo, I could rest on this for now and not do intensive intensive shit that's gonna have me burn more energy than what I used to burn, right?
Not one care in mind all year. I find enough joy every day in my hut, and after a meal and a pot of strong tea, I sit on a rock by a pond and count fish. Quiet, untroubled days, nothing to do or change.
Crazy.
With 36,000
and that's crazy to know that that's crazy. Oh shit.
days, why not spend a few staying still?
Yeah.
Time makes us uneasy, for we regard it as our enemy in our insatiable striving for progress, fearing the changes it brings and the death that awaits us all. So we find ways to kill time. But if we distract ourselves every time we feel even slightly bored, we make it harder to find meaning and stunt our creativity. It often happens that during idle moments, ideas simply come to us.
Yeah.
We do not have
That's right.
ideas. Ideas have us. Inspiration can come in a sudden flash,
What you mean, buddy?
completely absorbing us. This state of being carried away describes both the creative person and someone fully engaged in play. We say a thought pops up, an idea comes out of the blue, or it suddenly hit me. All describe the same thing, ideas rising from the unconscious into awareness.
Yeah.
When the creative spirit is absent, yet the desire to create remains, the artist may become deeply frustrated, blame himself, and sink into despair, sometimes unable to create for weeks, months, or even years.
Creative block.
But creativity must grow at its own pace to force the ego's desires upon a natural process.
Oh shit, I feel like, oh, okay, cool. That's where it might make sense, right? That's where it actually might make sense for like even people like me to, you know, let let your boredom have its course, bro. Like be bored. Allow yourself to be bored. Like, but as I say, it's hard for me to be bored. But I feel like look at it from a point where, you know, your state of rest or your state of not doing anything, your state of just like not engaging in whatever routine, whatever habit, whatever, you know what I'm saying, intensively so, to a point where it takes you away from, you know, what the boredom can do for you. You know what I'm saying, in terms of new idea generation. You know what I'm saying, like being creative even beyond what you already are. Like it sucks away all the room for that to happen when you want to constantly occupy yourself, constantly, you know what I'm saying, keep doing stuff, constantly this, that, and the third. You know what I'm saying? So yo, the importance of just like being in your rest, bro, not doing nothing.
It's like planting a seed and watching it obsessively, whispering, grow, grow, grow,
yeah,
only to become frustrated when it does not.
damn,
Great things take time to mature.
they do.
Creativity demands both patience and passion,
Yep.
which share the same etymological root, pati, meaning to endure, to suffer, or to undergo. The creative spirit is far more likely to respond when we prepare for it, rather than blaming ourselves and daydreaming about endless could have, would have, should have scenarios. Such behavior acts as a defense mechanism. It is tempting because it relieves us of responsibility, projecting it onto some imagined other, who, we believe for reasons unknown, refuses to help us. What we fail to realize is that this other is unable to help precisely because we do not allow it to express itself. In this way, we escape from the growing anxiety that comes from taking responsibility.
Yeah, and that's because, you know, a whole lot of people have taken this other and demonized it, alienated it, you know, made this other that like comes from the silence of you, you know, being bored, so to speak, just being by yourself and not doing anything. You know, a whole lot of people have taken that version of themselves and being like, yo, that's bad. I cannot let that one right there be themselves. I cannot have them have their way. Cannot express itself.
For our own lives. Yet,
Right.
ultimately, it is we who must decide to bring our creative life into being. Rollo May writes, but let it be said immediately that unconscious insights or answers to problems that come in reverie do not come hit or miss. They may indeed occur at times of relaxation or
Yeah.
in fantasy, or at other times when we alternate play with work.
Yeah.
But what is entirely clear is that they pertain to those areas in which the person consciously has worked laboriously and with dedication. We cannot will to have insights. We cannot will creativity. But we can will to give ourselves to the encounter with intensity of dedication and commitment.
Yeah.
The deeper aspects of awareness are activated to the extent that the person is committed to the encounter. The encounter does not happen merely because we have changed subjectively. It represents rather a real relationship with the objective world.
Okay.
Genuine creativity is characterized by heightened consciousness. The artist experiences joy in contrast to fleeting happiness.
Right.
Joy is the emotion that goes with heightened consciousness, the mood that accompanies the experience of actualizing one's own potentialities. Courage is not the absence of despair,
What is it?
but rather the capacity to move ahead in spite of despair.
Bro?
If you do not express your own ideas coming from yourself, if you do not listen to your own being, you will have betrayed yourself.
That's why it actually irritates me. People that give away their own autonomy thinking that that's constructive about, like, that's actually kind of okay, it may be safe, you know what I'm saying? It may give a feeling of security, but at a depreciating level, so to speak. You know what I mean? Because like not expressing your full self the way it's supposed to be expressed. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about the people that like end up being codependently like attached to people like their partners, people like their family. You know what I'm saying? People like their mother, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. People that are attached to things like their jobs and shit like that, right? You do need that that expression of yourself wholly, dog. That can unlock like mad potential, like the greatest things you can ever experience. Facts.
Creativity takes great courage because an active battle with the gods is occurring. We must always base our commitment in the center of our own being, or else no commitment will be ultimately authentic. The emptiness within corresponds to an apathy without, and apathy adds up in the long run to cowardice.
What?
Creativity must arise from your innermost self, not from fulfilling the expectations of others. You must follow your own path.
Your own path,
A common regret expressed by those close to death is not having had the courage to live a life true to themselves. Instead, they lived a life others expected of them. Moreover, they often speak not of deep regret over what they did, but over what they failed to do. Dreams left unpursued.
Yo, and that regret type of experience, bro. That shit is bad, man.
And
to live with that, like, it's like having that on your shoulders constantly.
Potential unrealized. This is the unlived life. One of the most destructive things psychologically is unused creative power. If someone has a creative gift and, for some reason, fear, laziness, or conformity does not use it, the psychic energy turns inwards and becomes poisonous. That is why we often see neuroses or psychoses as expressions of not lived possibilities.
Damn.
After Jung's paranormal experience in 1916, when the dead appeared to him and told him,
I always believed that that was the midlife crisis effect, right? That's where the whole midlife crisis comes from, because you never got to the things you had to get to at a younger phase of life. So now you're kind of like lashing out right now. You're like, yo, let me live that kid version of me right now.
him, "We have come back from Jerusalem, where we found not what we sought." He wrote the 7 sermons of the dead, after which they vanished. He later remarked, "From that time on, the dead have become ever more distinct for me as the voices of the unanswered, unresolved, and unredeemed." Jung writes, "Perhaps there is after all something to the idea that one chooses one's life before birth. In this case, there would be a connection between previous fantasies and a specific life. You may harbor a yearning for something during your life and have fantasies about the unlived aspect right up until you die.
Yep.
People often regret not having done something or other.
Yeah.
If there were a continuation, according to the laws of the psyche, an impulse would arise to realize these compensatory fantasies.
Bro.
In order to bring creativity forth, one must understand oneself and the meaning and purpose of one's life.
Of course,
But
that
to
makes
seek
sense.
one's true vocation is like entering a forest where it is darkest and no path is visible. Authenticity requires uncertainty. In the midst of such uncertainty, one may feel a hunch to do a particular thing, yet be unable to explain it rationally, not even to oneself, let alone others. Nevertheless, one feels compelled to follow it, for it may manifest as a visceral feeling accompanied by strong emotion.
Facts.
Intuition is a non-rational faculty. As a result, one is often seen as a fool or madman, for not only does one go against social expectations, but one is also unable to fully articulate why. This can create self-doubt, and eventually, one may give in and do what others believe is best.
Yeah.
The great decisions of human life
So basically, you can become an NPC. That's what makes being an NPC easier. You know, having that groupthink mentality.
have as a rule far more to do with the instincts and other mysterious unconscious factors than with conscious will and well-meaning reasonableness. The shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases.
Yeah.
Many of the difficulties we experience in life have their roots in childhood. Every child is creative, but the challenge is remaining creative as we grow up.
Yeah.
For those who endured a difficult upbringing, the wounded child does not vanish. It carries on into adulthood, often causing struggles. What are the earliest memories you have of your life? What is the earliest dream you can recall? There is a reason why they became imprinted in your mind. They have affected or shaped you in some way. We often assume that we know little of our childhood, but suddenly a particular smell, image, or moment triggers a long-forgotten memory, bringing with it a profound sense of nostalgia. Such memories do not disappear. They lie below the threshold of consciousness and can emerge at any moment. unacknowledged patterns often pass down the family line, which makes it equally important to understand our parents and ancestors, for in doing so, we come to understand ourselves.
Okay.
Jung confessed that a decisive factor in choosing his path was the knowledge that if he did not respond fully to his life's purpose and challenges, then they would be inherited by his children, who would have to bear the burden of his unlived life.
Oh, shit. Yeah, okay. Look, I will say this though, like, I feel like, you know, a whole lot of people make having children even about, you know, the financial capabilities that you have, the financial capacities, you know what I'm saying, and then they just leave it at that. But I feel like this may even explain beautifully another one of my reasons why I don't want to have kids early. You know what I'm saying, it's because there are these childhood kind of effects that, you know, are still in me, that I still need to reach or address in terms of living moments out, or living some sort of repressed expressions out. I have to take them out right now. I have to experience that whole thing, because now the me continuing to like keep it away or repress it still, and the negative impacts that those had, like, you know, me repressing my childhood expressions and things like that, and emotions, and just like building these fantasies and world, like, I feel like those are just as important, you know, in terms of, you know, how the psyche ends up developing in me, then resolving all of that so that I can have space to raise my next generation, you know, raise my kids, so that I don't take those burdens of my unresolved childhood experiences and let my kids inherit those. I feel like that goes into healthy parenthood. It's not just, you know, about the finances, dog, and what kind of school I'm going to put my kids in, like things like even you know, social and environmental factors, bro, of what kind of times we live in right now. And let's say you had the kid right now, what kind of advice would you give? Matter of fact, yourself, your younger self, what kind of advice would you give your younger self if you were like a really small kid, but like can still, you know, receive the understanding of the world? You can still formulate that understanding. What kind of advice would you give yourself? How would you, you know, how would you tend to the traumas that you encounter today? You know what I'm saying? And if you feel like you can aid yourself in a healthy way right now, then it's like, yo, I feel like you're fit enough to have a kid, because now you're fit enough to give them what you feel like is the right direction towards, you know, growing in this present time. So that kind of understanding is also a necessity, bro. Do your homework.
In addition to their own difficulties, we must examine the cards we have been dealt in life, and the peculiarities of our upbringing. For example, someone may have been involuntarily isolated from society for years, and the card life has dealt is that of the hermit. Rather than regarding this as a misfortune, it can be understood as a constellation of an archetype, of which the person has become a living embodiment. Such a person may possess a rich inner life, yet struggle to adapt to the outer world, which is just as essential. The point is not to speculate on how things could have been different, but to accept them as they are. Then life will flow well. Otherwise, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. It is like placing heavy stones to block the natural flow of the river. Thus, the secret of life seems to be to accept it as it is. Paradoxically, the more we think about the meaning of our life, the more we fail to live life fully. Towards the end of his life, Jung wrote, "Much might have been different if I myself had been different, but it was as it had to be, for all came about because I am as I am. I know only that I was born and exist, and it seems to me that I've been carried along. I exist on the foundation of something I do not know. In spite of all uncertainties, I feel a solidity underlying all existence."
So basically what had to happen had to happen. You know what I'm saying? What had to happen had to happen. Like whatever I came to let my life mean, like that's what had to happen. And that's what I was supposed to, you know, face and experience and things like that. You know, it's like this whole saying of life was too short for this, or they lived a long life, or whatever. Like for me, I don't let that thought process live in my head, because life is the way that it's supposed to be. That's it. You know what I'm saying? It is the duration that it's supposed to happen, and that's it. Whether that duration for you is like 2 months, right, straight out the womb, 2 months, and then that's it, or 2 decades, right, 2 centuries, whatever the case. You understand what I'm saying? Like it's the perfect way that it's supposed to be. And I'm not saying perfect meaning conditions of the life, but I'm talking about the duration, bro. You understand what I'm saying? Like you putting other foreign meanings to what was supposed to happen. That's where we even get the concept of FOMO. Never freaking fall for that FOMO kind of concept, bro. The fear of missing out. What are you missing out on? Whatever you're supposed to experience is what it's supposed to be, and that's that. All you know is that you're born and that you die. Like, and then whatever was in between was what it was. You know what I'm saying?
And a continuity in my mode of being.
Yep.
Most of the time, when people say that life has no meaning, it is because they feel their own life lacks meaning, and unconsciously project this emptiness into the world, constructing a philosophy out of their wounded self. It is not about finding the meaning of life in general, but one's own subjective meaning. For this, it is essential to rely on intuition, emotion, dreams, and visions. One should treat one's fantasies as just as important and real as so-called real life. Jung writes, "The best way of dealing with the unconscious is the creative way. Create, for instance, a fantasy. Work it out with all the means at your disposal. Work it out as if you were it or in it, as you would work out a real situation in life which you cannot escape. All the difficulties you overcome in such a fantasy are symbolic expressions of psychological difficulties in yourself. And inasmuch as you overcome them in your imagination, you also overcome them in your psyche." For Jung, one of the most powerful means of accessing unconscious material is what he calls active imagination, a technique that involves visualizing various spontaneous scenes.
Visualizing. I don't know if any of y'all have bumped into the concept of visualization, the visualizing practices. I think that's a meditative thing.
And engaging in dialogue with different aspects of yourself while fully awake. By dealing with the struggles that arise in your fantasies, the issues that would have been presented in dreams are confronted and worked out. In this way, dreams become more focused and concentrated and less repetitive. The key lies in the active component. One must write down the session to prevent it from...
Yo, with me, I feel like that even happens naturally. When I'm just like chilling by myself and, you know, like literally engaging in nothing, and you know what I mean? And in a meditative state, so to speak, like that whole, these visions working themselves out and I feel like it happens. Like, because a whole lot of visualization happens as well when, you know, not much external is sensitizing you via your attention. Not much things are part of your attention right now. So for me, I feel like it happens naturally. Like, AKA, you zone out, bro. These are the visions that you create when we zone out. Like that's it.
Becoming mere passive fantasy. Though it demands deep concentration and solitude, active imagination is among the most effective methods for creative work and for the formation of one's personal myth. However, some people are not psychologically prepared for such a task and may become too absorbed in the flow of images, temporarily losing touch with the ordinary world. For this reason, one should be cautious. During his confrontation with the unconscious, Jung knew he had to plunge fully into his fantasies. He needed to gain power over them, for he realized that if he did not do so,
or be able to zone back in after a little zone out. After a little zone out, meditative zone out. You gotta snap back to it, man.
They might gain power over him. Moreover, he could not expect of his patients what he was not willing to do himself. He writes, "To the extent that I managed to translate the emotions into images, that is to say, to find the images which were concealed in the emotions, I was inwardly calmed and reassured. Had I left those images hidden in the emotions, I might have been torn to pieces by them." The unconscious can lead to creation or destruction. The more grounded one is, the better one is prepared to delve into the unconscious. As is often the case, one needs balance. Some are too lofty, immersing themselves in the unconscious and becoming possessed by it, while others are too grounded, denying its existence, and yet still falling under its influence. Nietzsche, who proclaimed himself the hermit of Sils Maria, wrote in a draft of his final work, Ecce Homo, "I am solitude become man." Lacking a firm anchor in the outer world, he possessed nothing more than the inner world of his thoughts, which incidentally possessed him more than he it. He succumbed to irreality, the quintessence of horror, and suffered a mental breakdown. Jung writes, "Particularly at this time, when I was working on the fantasies, I needed a point of support in this world, and I may say that my family and my professional work were that to me. It was most essential for me to have a normal life in the real world as a counterpoise to that strange inner world. The unconscious contents could have driven me out of my wits. Only by attending to everyday duties can one gain a sense of sanity and liberation, which opens the door to a creative mood. Equally essential is the presence of others. Individuation occurs through relationships, not complete isolation." Von Franz states, "We're now discovering that the dream world is the most beneficent thing on earth, and that attending to one's dreams is the healthiest thing one can do. But the dream world can also devour a person by way of daydreaming, spinning neurotic fantasies, or chasing unrealistic ideas. You only have to go into a lunatic asylum to see the victims of the dream world. The dream world is beneficent and healing only if we have a dialogue with it, but at the same time remain in actual life. We must not forget living. The duties of real living must not be neglected. We call that dangerous aspect of the dream world the devouring unconscious or the devouring mother. It can suck us away from reality and spin us into neurotic or even psychotic unreality.
Crazy.
Solidifying one's fantasies can make a big difference, whether through writing, music, painting, ceramics, or
Remain creative, y'all.
or other creative forms.
Remain creative,
Otherwise, they
y'all.
remain vague and float aimlessly in the unconscious. Even if their meaning is unclear, paying attention to your inner contents influences the unconscious, which may respond with a dream. The dream is the voice of nature or the voice of the instinct. Sometimes your inner world appears to have a correspondence in the outer world, which are called synchronicities or meaningful coincidences. These events are acts of creation
that's what
in
they call
time
coincidence
that are
too.
somehow linked to your personal development. It is as though the universe itself acknowledges your effort towards self-realization. Our conscious attitude is crucial. Those who refuse to pay attention to the unconscious are influenced by it nonetheless, albeit in a negative way. In both cases, one may suffer, but in one case one suffers authentically and grows, while in the other one suffers neurotically and remains stagnant or withers away. One unites, the other splits. Life leads the willing and drags along the unwilling. It makes a difference whether we say yes to our fate and fulfill it positively, or say no and are dragged by it against our will. The self or God image wants to become conscious through us. God wants to incarnate in us, and cold or not, God will be present. If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. To speak of suffering,
Expose those demons, man. Expose those demons. Don't sit on them. Free them.
is very
Free yourself.
different from actually experiencing it. One cannot merely intellectualize it and say, suffering is indispensable for growth and ultimately good for me. No, when you suffer, it fills your whole being. You want it to end, and when it does not, you struggle and fight against it. Then you grow. Jung writes, "Now and then it happened in my practice that a patient grew beyond himself because of unknown potentialities, and this became an experience of prime importance to me. In the meantime, I'd learned that all the greatest and most important problems of life are fundamentally insoluble. They must be so, for they express the necessary polarity inherent in every self-regulating system. They can never be solved, but only outgrown. It is helpful to view life's trials not as misfortunes that cause meaningless suffering, but as lessons life teaches you. Whether this is objectively true or not is beside the point. What matters is whether this perspective allows one to move from being a passive victim to an active agent in one's own life. If it grants renewed energy to face challenges and the courage to confront them, let it be so. And if one cannot accept a misfortune because it feels absurd or unjust, let that be so as well. One must follow one's